As I woke up very early this morning, I had this subject came into my mind and I'm still processing it and I want to share with you guys, which is how do we balance and even leverage all these three qualities that we have, which are self-love, selflessness, and selfishness. I'm a big firm believer that we all came with this natural these three qualities unless a person is being diagnosed by a professional that he or she or they have a narcissist personality disorder, something like that. But I'm speaking about a normal person, a healthy person, right? We should we should have all those three qualities. It's just a matter of the degree. And as I have been thinking about these three qualities we have, how can we find a balance and even leverage them at the in the appropriate moment, in appropriate situations, right? I think about how far I have come since I started my spiritual awakening journey and also personal transformation journey. For some of you may not know where I'm from. Again, my name is Wei-Jen, and I used to be this, people pleaser and caretaker. I remember before I started my personal transformation journey and also spirituality, I used to think that I was this kind, nice girl that I was very, most of the time, I was selfless. I was selfless rather than self love or selfish, right? Because lots of time, in order to keep the person to be in my life or to make my parents to not disappointed on me or not get mad at me, right? Or to avoid conflicts with another person, I chose to sacrifice my own needs, desires, and feelings to in order to be selfless, in order to appear myself as this nice girl. And then underneath that, I realized that many cases, my motivation to be this ideal nice girl, ideal selfless nice girl is pretty much, coming from a place of fear of losing this person, fear of being rejected, fear of not getting the things that I want in a way or not having the things in a way that I want them to be, right? So that is, I would say that is not a real true selfless. But ever since I started my spiritual awakening journey, I think, probably it's about 5 years up until this moment, I I want to share with you that I started to feel there's these three qualities within me, and I can start to really understand and differentiate these three qualities because I think this still happens to me sometimes if I'm not aware enough. I could easily get really confused between, selfish versus self love. If I am not aware or if I'm not consciousness if enough. And I, because I took my time to process, the differences between self love and selflessness and selfishness, right? I came with this perspective that I don't think is necessary, negative at all, especially when it comes to selfish. Because, I used to have this really negative relationship and perception about selfish or selfishness, particularly when I was a kid. Um, you know, like a typical healthy, middle class kids, a lot of a lot of them, including me myself, seven, 6, 7, 8 years old, all you do is just, go to the school and eat and then play and then do your homework and um yeah, and then just do what the parents, they told me to do, right? But I I went back to my childhood and to, to reassess why I had this negative perception about, selfishness, which I never thought that I was selfish person, especially when I was a kid. How come a kid could be, such selfish? Like, as my mom used to call this name on me, especially when she got really um, mad at me, and then she would, call names on me, and then she would say that I was selfish because I, didn't understand her, didn't, I was lack of consideration, about where she comes from, and I wasn't good enough. And, especially being a daughter, being a girl in our culture, it's I was, less, I was below than, other cousins who are male. And when she called me that I was selfish, I didn't really quite understand. As you can imagine, as a kid, how much a kid could understand what this self-love, selflessness, and selfish really means, right? The kids should be, would just naturally, they just want to play, they just want to be fed, they just want to be loved, be cared, and then have, enough amount, at least enough amount of attention and affection from parents. That is a healthy kids, right? That they want, we all want. um, so when my mom used to say that I was selfish, I didn't know how to respond, and nor was I had did I have any courage to say anything back to him, because back to her, because I just didn't understand why. What is that, and then today, as I am adult, I rarely have people call me selfish. Like, most of the time, people just call me like people pleaser, and it's not selfless. I wasn't selfless, or I wasn't loving myself. Either one of that. Particularly before I started my personal transformation, I would beg and plead, and just, being very desperate to keep, people who I wanted them to be in my life. And it's particularly when it comes to dating. I was completely unaware, untreated, severe codependent. And so I would be willing to do anything, anything that I could to keep this guy with me. And that is, completely lack of self-love, and then also self-awareness, and then also self-value, self-esteem, self-confidence. Now, today, thinking back, I do have people sometimes, really rarely, occasionally, will say that I am selfish. Probably once or twice I can remember to this point. Um, and I take it as a compliment, as a matter of fact, because I look at how far I have come during this journey, that I only got once or twice people call me that I'm selfish. And those, those time that people call me selfish, they don't even know me. They don't even know where I come from. So with with my spiritual awakening journey and personal transformation journey, I have a better understanding and compassion when people call me selfish. But this doesn't really happen that often. It's just once or twice. I can remember vividly. I can't remember the detail. um, so I would say that for self-love, is something that how I identified is that, taking care of my well-being and my happiness, and also, um, if something that doesn't serve me, right, I can have a choice to kindly remove myself away from that position or a situation or a relationship that doesn't serve me, right. That is the way that how I love myself, with respect to myself and another person, their decisions, their choice, and acceptance as well. Um, I used to think that self love is something that, something that I get a manicure or pedicure or buy myself some nice clothes or treat myself a nice meal. That is how I used to define self love. But today, I I go even deeper, the definition of self love. This also includes speak the truth and doing it with kindness, right? Regardless whether or not the other person likes what I say or doesn't like what I say, right? As long as I speak the truth with kindness and I speak the truth from my bottom of my heart, really, there is nothing I can say the wrong. I can really rarely say the wrong thing. I can only say the right thing to the wrong people. And then that's how, we become apart, right? That's how maybe they don't like what we say or they don't feel quite agree or quite right with what I say. But as long as I say it from my bottom of my heart, not trying to control or manipulate other people, right? And I can say it with a peace of mind, I can sleep well at that night, then really there's nothing that I can say the wrong thing. I hope that makes sense to you. Um, Also, I think self love is also um, it's also an area knowing what we need, knowing what is our desire and then how we feel, right? And even be able to use a language to communicate and to express our desire, our feelings and our needs. It's a way to love ourselves and to honor ourselves and respect ourselves. It takes courage, it takes patience and a loving kindness and gentle to be able to express this level of self-love, regardless the outcome. Now, selfless is another interesting area that I've been thinking quite a lot lately. When do we become selfless? Well, this is what my thought about being selfless. Because if we always, because think about it, if I always thinking about self-love, 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 how do I get to take care of myself? What are my needs? What are my feelings? But not consider other people or my surrounding, other people, their needs, feelings, and desire, right? Then it can be really easily go off the balance. So, I want to circle back to what is selfless. Selfless looks like to me is that when I'm in a surrounding or when I am in a relationship or in a certain environment, right? I not only that I have enough, plenty resource to be independent, to be fully support myself, and yet I have an extra band or strength to help others, to support and love others who need, especially others who needs my support, my love and my help, right? That is selfless. It's literally, I am putting my focus on another person's, their needs, their voice, their desire, and making sure other people, their voice, they're being heard and they're being seen, while I can maintain and fulfill my own needs, desire, and be able to fully support myself. And I think that's another beauty of, why a lot of people, especially wealthy people, they love to be at the service, right? It's not just only wealthy people, like a middle class people or, low class people, right? Doesn't matter the class, doesn't matter the gender or ethnicity. There's a lot of people, they love to be at the service. I used to be at the service when I was living in a major big city. I would, especially during the holiday, I would go serve the meal to homeless people or people who have mental illness, right? And I did that, I was being at the service from a place of not expect anything to return back to me, or not expecting, other people will do exactly the same thing to me, right? Being at the service while I can fully love myself and then take care of myself, fully support myself, is another way, to level up our energy vibration. And then also, it's another way to expand our abundance, right? It just feels it just feels right. It just feels good to be able to help others. And that is something that I also have been doing it quite a lot lately in my professional area, is that I remember when I was this newbie artist, okay, in my acting career, I have received tremendous love and support from other colleagues or teachers or professors or directors or other filmmakers. And then today, with a little bit reputation and then also achievement that I have made, I want to be able to give back to that community. So the attention will become less on myself, will be more about what are other people, their needs, and how can I be at the service, how can I show up for them, right? So that is something that how I define, selfless. And this is not just only being at the service or being a volunteer. This is also this is also sometimes that, being selfless in a relationship, when my partner is, going through some crisis or a really difficult challenge period, right? Dark time. How can I show up for him? How can I be there for him? How can I support him, right? That situation, right? It's also, you know, it's also being selfless. It's more of a unity, like we as a team, right? How can I be a teammate there for you? That is selfless, okay? While I can maintain my well being, my happiness, and then be able to fully support myself. So that's how I define selfless. Now, selfish, as I said before, I used to perceive it as a negative trait. But lately, I've been thinking about what could be the positive trait of being selfish. Still, I think a lot of people in the society, at least from my experience, when people they talk about selfish, right? I most of the time I observe people they talk about selfish in a very negative way. But today I want to switch the focus to how can we see the positive traits about being selfish? Because if you take off that judgmental mindset and then look at being selfish or selfishness in a non-judgmental way, actually, it is a natural trait that we all have. It's just a matter of the degree. It's just, the matter of when we express, when we show that selfishness in either consciousness or subconsciousness way, right? And so I want to talk about the positive trait of being selfish. So I know that I did a little bit of research online about what is the definition of being selfish. And what I discovered is that being selfish, a person who is being selfish, is when they don't consider other people, their needs, their desires, and their feelings. Okay, and particularly they are lack of empathy about other people. Okay, so that is the negative trait, you know, not having any empathy or understanding or compassion about other people, but only focusing on their pleasure, their best interest. That is the negative, selfish. But we also have healthy selfishness. So healthy selfish looks like that, you know your boundary, you know your limit, and you also know your needs, your desire, and your feelings. So I'll give you an example. What does the healthy selfishness looks like? Let's say it is Friday night and next day, Saturday, you have to get up early morning, because you have a commitment. Or you're very tired, you have a very long day, and then you decided that what you really need is rest. Rest your body, rest your mind, stay low at home. You want to have a low key weekend by being home and then, or having some personal space for yourself to rejuvenate, right, your energy. And then your friend comes up to you and say, hey, let's go have a happy hour, or let's, come to join my birthday party. It's my 40th or 50th, birthday party. You should come. It's a big, it's a big age. It's a big milestone. Um, and yourself, your intuition tells you that this is not something that you need. What you need is rest. And also, your intuition tells you, your body is screaming at you, your intellect is telling you that you don't want to go. And you say no in a very kind way. You thank the person, your friend, for inviting you, for thinking of you, and value your friendship. But you say no, because you need to rest. And sometimes maybe you didn't even explain why you say no. You just say no in a kind way, and then you take off. You go focus on taking care of yourself. This is what I see as a healthy, being healthy selfish, right? Is that you know your boundary, you know your limit, you know how much fuels you have. And when you don't have that enough fuels to go celebrate your friend's party, your friend's birthday, right? You kindly excuse yourself to go take care of yourself. That is healthy selfish. Knowing your boundary, knowing how to say no, not, you don't make an excuse, you don't lie to your friend, you don't try to justify why you say no. You just simply say thanks, but no thanks. That is healthy selfish. And I think, you know, now sometimes, when we're so emotional and we call another person, you're being selfish, or other people, they call us, I'm being selfish. I think that is emotional. That most of the time we use that word to judge others, right? We say it to another person from a place of emotion. We're not very understanding, or not having enough compassion, and we just give that label easily. And so today, when I'm being called that I'm being selfish, which doesn't happen a lot. I barely can remember when was the last time happened. But my point is that today, when I look at being selfish, and I also want to invite you guys to look at this word in a less negative way, but more finding more positive of what is the definition of being selfish. There's gotta be healthy selfish there, uh healthy healthy selfishness traits there. And that is something that I want to shift the focus, rather than focusing on this is negative and I don't want to have this with me, I'm not that kind of person, da 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 da. So that is something that I want to share with you guys. Now, the challenge of leveraging and then balancing these three qualities, right? I think when we are in a different situation and different relationships, whether it's urgent or non-urgent situation, or a lifestyle, if we can be very mindful, when do we leverage self-love? When do we leverage healthy selfishness? When do we leverage selflessness in a different scenario with our consciousness and the mindfulness? I think there is a greater chance to cultivate and to become a better self. And then there is a greater chance to cultivate this magnetic quality, because we already have these three qualities, but it's just a matter of how consciousness we notice them, and how consciousness when we leverage them, right? But when we imagine, when we can leverage them in a very mindful way, without hurting other people, without self sabotage our own identity, our true authentic self, imagine how magnetic that we are going to become. And definitely, inevitably, that is going to also not only level up our energy vibration, but also be able to maintain that high energy vibration. And that is, inevitably, that is going to attract our desired lifestyle and love, because we know when to take care of ourselves, when to be at the service, right? When to draw that boundary or express our standard when it comes to healthy selfish, right? So that's something that I want to share with you guys. And I hope you found that this is a different perspective, and take some time to process it, and to experience and to find the joy between these three qualities. I think there's a lot of gifts behind these three qualities, but only you can experience, only you get to discover that, get to receive these beautiful gifts behind these three qualities that you have within you. If you really like my today's video, please feel free to like my video, and then even leave a comment, and then also share this video with other people. And then also, if you want to dive into a deeper personal transformation, also feel free to book a 30 free minutes coaching session with me in order to find out whether or not working with me is a right fit for you. I want to thank you, and thank you for spending your time, energy, and effort to watch my video. I really appreciate you, and I feel very grateful for it. I wish you have a fabulous day. Namaste.